Welcome to the Overdrive Show today. This is DJ Ginger, and I'm so excited about today's interview because not only am I excited about the project, but also the person I'm interviewing, who is a writer, director, producer, actor, and also a good friend. So please welcome Richard Blake to the show. Hi, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ginger. Thanks for having me and taking the time. It's awesome. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, it's truly my honor. I'm excited about. There's so many little things that are big things in this project that I'm excited about. You and BJ doing the movie itself, and your wife Amber like working in the film. Like there's so many things. So I'll let you do more of the talking, and I'll chime in here and there. But the film is called The Rocket, so it's a true story based film. So we'll start with there and just say, so what's the true story that inspired you to write The Rocket?
Right. Well, there's kind of two parts to that, and the way that I've kind of talked about it initially is it's a true story, and I treat it as if I think that actually helped me in the process of presenting it as a cinematic experience, because I wanted it to be a little bit larger than life. I wanted it to be a little bit, feel a little bit bigger. I didn't want it to feel like a small film, to the best of my abilities. And so I treated it like it wasn't a super personal story to me. It was a story that I knew and was telling accurately. And so it was a story that actually happened for real in the 90s. And there was, there's a kid, and his name's Joshua Davis in the film. And he is primed to play football, and he suffers this tragic accident. And as kind of cliche or normal as that story kind of seems, because that story's kind of out there, where this takes a turn is he's really young. He's just entering high school, and it's really at its coming of age point for him. And he kind of loses everything. He loses his identity. At the same time he's trying to find his identity, he loses it, and he loses his relationships with his friends and his girl and his father and all this stuff. He's just really lost, and he kind of falls into this cross country team because it's all he can do, and because of his injury, and through a lot of different kind of growing pains and just learning about himself and these other people that are around him that he thinks are pretty weird, they end up becoming champions together. And that's why it's very different than this just story of this championship team, because it's like a almost fish out of water story, like taking an NFL player and having him run, the 2 mile or even a marathon and compete at that level, but like they don't fit there.
Yeah.
So that's what's really interesting about the story is we're kind of experiencing it with our character, and I think that's what's different about it. It isn't just about this Olympic team. It's really about this person and what's going on inside as well as outside. And then the second part of that is, and without being too, indulgent or arrogant or anything like that, very humble about it, but it's my true story. So it's actually what happened to me growing up. I broke my skull open, and I was built as a football player and was very strong and lifting weights and doing all that. And I was pretty much headed that direction. And right before I went into high school, I no longer really could do any of these things I've done my whole life. And, my relationship with, I think all the men in my life really suffered because of that. And I ended up kind of finding this new energy in this cross country team, which I certainly made fun of, my whole life. And my experiences in high school was interesting because I was still built like a football player, and I was still kind of, I don't want to say I wasn't part of that kind of crew, but I still was around those guys, and they
Right.
were my friend. But at the same time, my team was my friends too. And
Yeah.
they were this whole different group of people. And I've always thought that was very interesting. So it's much more than just a sports movie. There's kind of all these things going on, and the sports and the story is kind of the backdrop. So that's really the true part of it all, is it actually did happen, and it's very authentic. And without giving away, too many things in the movie, it's something I'll absolutely never forget, in my life. And I think the area too really responded to what happened, with with the team and kind of how it came about.
I got the true honor of getting to pre-screen the movie because I have an inside, thing here. So
Right? No, that's so great. That's so great that you got to see it. You got to see it. Other people haven't seen it. They should be jealous.
I know it was so exciting. I was so glad. I mean, I've been waiting for this film from the day you told me you were going to make it, and then the writing came about, and like I've been, following along the whole time, and then it's so exciting that it's, finally a finished product to actually watch. So I spent the whole time being geek, going, "Oh my goodness, looky there, look there, look there,"
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was very relatable for me, is because I have kids who are college age. So the parent child relationship story was also a big dynamic of that. I think a lot of both parents and kids will relate to the pressures that kids have to succeed in their parents' eyes,
Yeah.
but then the parents always, they want the best for their kid and they want them to succeed, and it's that kind of, generational pull, and it's very cool how you pulled that story in there too.
This story is about those kind of elements, but you could apply that, I think, to all of us as parents. So as adults, as parents, and also as children, you can apply that to all of us in any instance where there might be a little bit of a generational difference, or there's your relationship with your parents. I think it's specific even to father and son relationships, but it certainly is, a mother and son, mother and daughter, father and daughter. I think it's all avenues. The parents kind of have this expectation, or they have their own kind of interest, or maybe they feel even like they've failed in some way.
Oh yeah, we get that.
Those kind of things are now put on the children, and that, I think, that can happen the other way too. I think sometimes kids can want more, or wish their parents were different too, and it's like, that's what's cool about this story is this specific story in this context, but all of us, as really any age, the dynamic between the parents and the kids, and in this film, and there's some coaching roles, and there's some good coaches and some bad coaches, and you can kind of see these kids responding to it, and it's a true thing, I think, in high school too, especially for football, but really for any sport. There is this kind of the Super Bowl of it all is state, going to state, and right. I had one coach comment to me that he maybe didn't like that, that was what the kids wanted to do, like that was their focus, because he's like, he wants to coach the kids to all have fun and do well. And while I agree with that, and that they should have fun, it shouldn't be always about going to state. That doesn't make it not true.
Right.
That's what kids really want.
Right.
So that's kind of was my answer to him. I was like, well, I agree with you that it should be fun. They should be doing it for the right reasons, and it should be fun. But just because they're doing it for fun does not mean that kid doesn't care if he goes to state or not. Of course he does. Everyone does.
I'll give away this. Richard is actually a coach in the movie, and you just do an awesome job. I find I have so many friends that I've encountered that have been in film, and when I watch friends on film, it's this just surreal thing. I just fall in love with the movie even more, and I love your role. I love the I think that's important too, as teachers and coaches and all that. They have an inside scoop for these kids that parents and peers even sometimes just can't reach. And so I think your role in that too, it fills that, some of those guys that don't have dads in the picture, or maybe not one that they can look up to, or sometimes they can talk to teachers and coaches when they can't talk to anyone else, and you understand that from being on teams. It gets to be kind of a parent role, that you feel like you can actually go to them when you can't go to other people. What's exciting about the film is some of the other people in it, like the star of the film, your front runner, literally front runner, is Brady Tutton. And I'll let you give that away. This is kind of a really cool thing, but I want you to tell me, how How did you cast Brady? And tell me more about what's exciting about him being in the film.
He is a really talented young man. When we shot the film, he was 14 years old. I think he had actually maybe he was almost about to turn 15, but he was 14 when we actually shot it, and he just turned 16. And so, he's the depth that he has as an actor. There was an audition process for everybody. So this was a kind of film where I had a couple offers out to some actors in Los Angeles. I had one guy in New York, but a lot of the kind of scheduling came down to making me look into smaller kind of pools, such as Chicago, Milwaukee, and I'm also from that area. So once we decided we were going to actually shoot the film where it took place, which is in Wisconsin, we started to cast some smaller roles in the area. And then Brady submitted a tape reading for the lead role, and he was just head and shoulders just above some of the other tapes, and everyone was good. There was a lot of people who did a really good job, but his audition was great. And so from there, it kind of just went to a phone call with him and also his mother, because he's 14 years old.
Absolutely.
Which is this interesting thing. You're dealing with parents too, and they want to make sure you're not doing this some sort of slasher horror movie where they're kids going to do something horrible. And so I made sure that they had the full script, and I really just kind of really liked him as a person. I really enjoyed his intelligence and his maturity, and even just kind of getting to hang out with him and talk with him. I would forget how young he is, and a lot of the other runners or cast and football players in the movie, some of them are pretty young and some of them are in their 20s, playing younger. And so Brady's literally probably the youngest person, and he just fit right in with all these people that are 10 years older than him. And that was interesting to see. And so, to speak to the movie, he carries the movie. He's the title character. He goes through his arc in the movie is fantastic. And as an actor, I would say selfishly, I've always actually wished for a role like that myself, especially when I was in high school. I was always like, oh, Lord, please just give me this awesome role where I can do this. And so even in another dynamic, I've tried to create this for somebody else, because that's kind of what I always wanted. And so, and he just really nailed it. And then moving forward, right after the film, he went on this show called Boy Band on ABC, and it was kind of one of those shows like The Voice. If people that don't know what it is, it's kind of like it's a singing competition, but specifically for young men and who kind of want to be the next NSYNC. And Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys was one of the main hosts, and Timberland, and that kind of thing. So, it wasn't necessarily up my alley right away, but, my boy's on there, so I'm going to support him and watch him. And this kid wins the show. Not only does he go all the way to the end and get voted to be part of this boy band, they chose like 5 boys to be in a band out of, I think, probably 50 began.
And that's after they'd already whittled it down from all the submissions. There's thousands of.
And that's after submissions. So it's almost like an American Idol thing too.
Yeah.
But very specific genre, and it really just it's really a miracle. Again, not to say it's I kind of knew he was going to win the whole time, and I know it's easy to say because he did win. But I saw him do a couple of his first performances himself, and I saw Timberland give him props and Nick Carter give him props, and I also just kind of knew his character, and so I said, if these guys are seeing the Brady that I know, his singing and his talent is one thing, but really the way that his poise and the way that he holds himself and his maturity is a whole nother dynamic of being an artist that Brady has. He just naturally has that. And I think that they saw that, and I saw it on that show. And so now, the star of the Rocket is touring the world with the boy band, and their band's name is In Real Life. And they had a couple Christmas songs come out, and their real big song is called Eyes Closed. And, I'm not going to lie, it is really good. It's a really good song.
It's a God thing. Very good timing.
It was our alarm. It was like our alarm for a while because we were so excited for him. And he's got a lot in front of him. he's got a lot in front of him, and he's got a lot of opportunity, and this is going to open doors. And what's really great about The Rocket is, I think some people who know him in the music world, The Rocket is going to be a surprise, and they're going to see him in The Rocket, and his performance is so strong that they will just he'll be an undeniable force. He's going to have other people kind of come for him. I'm in development on another film for next year that, if the cards fall right and everything works out, I'd probably reach out to him again to work with him again, as a lot of directors do, with actors.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a really great ride, and this didn't all happen in 2 months. This was
right.
This was a 3-year process. So there was a script, an audition, initial meeting, then rehearsals, then shooting. Then there's the post process. Then he went on the show. Then the show was on for the whole summer. Then he won the show. Then they released an album. Now the movie's released. So it wasn't like this was it's been 3 years since the very kind of beginning of it all. So it's amazing.
What I like about Brady is, it's like I can't put my finger on it, and I think with good actors you can't. There's something about him where he has an innocence about him when you see him acting, or when he's singing too. There's an innocence that shows he's young.
Oh, yeah.
But yet, some of the looks he gave in the movie, or even when he was singing, when he really was, you could tell he meant what he was singing. Like, it's so pensive or something, it just.
How does he do that, Ginger?
I mean, it's like it's like an old soul. Yeah.
He's a special person, and he has depth, which is the word I would use.
Yeah.
Which is why I cast him, because and to tell you the truth, what happened to me, I was in 8th grade, and I broke my skull, and I don't know, I can't really speak exactly to my personality before. I think I was a little depressed, maybe a little rambunctious, a little defiant, and going through this near-death experience and having everything kind of just taken away, it matured me. And so through high school and through the casting process, that's what I really knew I needed to find. I needed to find a kid who could get to that maturity that I had, because all through high school, I really just wanted to get out. I just wanted to get out and work and move on. I didn't have a lot of interest in it because I don't even know why. Maybe I didn't want to waste time, or I had lost all of this. I knew something a little different. And Brady has that naturally. And so, and his mom was there a lot on set. You have to have your party in there, and that's all. Again, I would forget sometimes, because I'd be like, "Oh, that's right. You are 14."
Yeah.
And because you could have this mature conversation, and he takes direction too. I mean, I hope that. I hope he's heard me say it enough, probably, and when we've talked, in this post process here. But he takes direction so well. I could be really specific with a certain shot, for example, and there wouldn't even be words, Ginger. It would just be, I would say, "Hey, look, this sequence could be in slow motion. I need you to look this way, and then you have to see this person, and then you have to take that, and then you have to look at the ground, and then I want you to clench your jaw and take a breath, and all this is happening in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But I need you to do this." And he would hit it. And there were some times I would go over to him, and I would pull him aside, and I'd be like, "I should talk to Brady privately." And I would pull him aside, and everyone would be like, "Oh no, what happened?" And I would just take him aside, and I'd be like, "How did you do that?" And I would just to encourage him, just to let him know that he was really hitting it. And I would just say, "Dude, I cannot believe that you absolutely understood everything I just explained to you, and you hit that on that first thing." And I was like, "Can we do it again? Can we try it again, just to get another option?" And so that kind of thing, I think, made him increase his confidence too, which is something as a director I learned. When someone does something great, let them know. You gotta really let them know that they are really good at what they're doing. Their choices are correct. And in my experiences, I wish I've had that more. So anyway, I
Well,
could
so
go on forever, but
I feel like you were kind of probably doing a balancing act at this time because you wrote and directed it, but you co-produced this with Rainy Day Productions with your friend BJ, which I think he's so awesome.
oh yeah.
And then you also worked with your wife. You're directing, you're acting in it as a coach, and so you're giving direction, but you're also concerned about shots, and you're just you're kind of like your hand is in every aspect of it. What was it like, kind of doing all of those, the directing, the acting, the producing, like kind of all of that? What was that like doing this in this project?
I mean, it's exciting for me just because I've really always said I wanted to do that. I've always kind of looked to people who have done that in the past. People I've admired a lot, like Robert Redford and Sylvester Stallone. Clint Eastwood does that. If you really can, yeah, I mean, I think every man and person probably understands, knows Braveheart,
Yeah.
and the fact that what an actor was able to do, and also a director, and then you're winning awards, and it's just such a known film that how could you not admire that, and it kind of goes beyond the person. It's more kind of just about how good the project is, and I tried to keep it kind of like I said about the true story earlier. I tried to keep it each thing its own, like in its own lane, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where I tried to focus myself as an actor. I tried to put the same kind of pressure on myself that I would if I was working with another director and they had expectations of me. So I tried not to really think about it, because I think the trap would be if you think, well, I'm the director, I could do whatever I want, doesn't really matter. That's the trap, because then you're not gonna push yourself. And so, and then just to speak to BJ, who's been my lifelong friend, BJ Rainiac, we have worked together so much on little Lego man movies that we made when we were in second grade, all the
I've
way
seen
to
a couple of those.
yeah, all the way to now, and he lived in LA with me for a time, and so we have a great communication. And so he was my DP on this and my co-producer, and really my friend, and that also really helped because I trusted him. And so I was working with someone I knew understood the direction of this scene. And so when it was time for me to go on the other side of the camera, I could look at him and he could look at me, and I could say action, and I could forget about that, and I could be in the moment. And I think that helped me tremendously. And I mean, it helps when you love what you're doing. I think that's the big thing. It was just so exciting, and I loved it so much. And then, the other lane of all of that is being the producer, and my wife's so amazing. Amber's so amazing. Just to, she has this kind of hidden business sense that you would never think, but she's brutal, and she's beautiful, and she's so sweet, and she has all those elements in one. And to be a producer, you need those. And she knows when to get to work, and she knows when to relax, and that really kept me in the right space as well. Because if I was getting stressed out or starting to lose it, she would be there to bring me an espresso or a My Dude coffee or something, and say relax, and it's gonna be good. If I was worried about something, she would help me find the solution. So I think that's really the answer. Is I was surrounded by these really wonderful human beings that I wasn't trying to do it all myself. I think that could be the trap too, where it sounds like you are sometimes. If you're the writer or the director, you're this, and it's like, oh my gosh, all those things. But there's a support system there that if I didn't have that, it'd be a different story. It would be harder. And I think the main thing really for me, that I think my strength, that I think that has been gifted to me from above, is really execution, is getting a vision or an idea, understanding what has to be done, and then doing it. And I think that's what it takes to get to a place where you could produce something yourself, whether you're directing or acting or not, just to even to do a production. You've got to execute, because I'm surrounded by people who have ideas, even who have scripts or have even started something. So I think just committing to, no matter what, I'm finishing this. And BJ had that attitude, and Amber had that attitude. And that's really important. And that's not like that's not a skill, that's not a learned skill or something. I think that's just,
That's
you're
their
either going to do it or
nature.
you're not.
Yeah, and I think well, I can tell Amber is very disciplined. I would say you're all very disciplined, like, and
Yeah.
not in a bad way, but in a good way. Like, you're goal oriented, but you're disciplined in how you carry it out. And I will brag on you, because I know you won't. Like, this entire process, watching you go from writing the script and me reading the script, and then like you wanting to get feedback on everything, and be conscious about every aspect of it, and you've you've treated it with respect and with kid gloves, or like the whole time I watched you. You did an incredible job acting. I probably haven't actually even told you that yet, because I kind of bragged on the films, but you did. I mean, I've seen you do other things, and I mean, I feel like that's kind of just a given, but it's not. You were incredible in the film, but you've really cared about this project so deeply, and you've been careful in so many ways. And I think for somebody who is writing, directing, and producing, I think it can be a runaway train real easy, to where your ego just hops on board and goes for a ride. But you're just not that person, and I don't think Amber would allow it. I think
No.
I think that girl has her head on really good. I mean, and she's so beautiful, by the way. I mean, my goodness, she is such a knockout.
It's ridiculous.
It
it's
is.
ridiculous.
She is gorgeous.
I'm in danger of being hated because I have it so good in that department. Just because she's great. And you said discipline, and
I'm on her Instagram, Richard. I see her Instagram, and she makes me feel like a failure on a daily basis. I
mean, she is.
I can't even watch.
she eats. I mean, she is. I'm a very structured person. I'm an A personality. I'm pretty OCD about things, and sometimes to a fault, sometimes to a strength. And I've learned to accept that and kind of just identify with it. I'm like, look, this is where the shoes. Yeah. This is where the shoes go. This is where they line up. Like, put them here. And Amber has kind of a much more relaxed approach, but she's the same. So I'm a little like wiry and a little bit more like I have to, I'm always moving. My brain is always moving. I'm kind of on to the next thing. I'm doing the next thing. What do I have to do? I'm very scheduled. Even right now, as I'm talking, I'm getting faster. And so, and Amber has that same thing though. Amber has the same thing, except she's like the most peaceful person. And she just kind of like glides. She's a glider, man. She kind of just glides through it. And if there's a beautiful sunset up ahead or there's a storm ahead, she just is she's very steady. And so what's really cool about that is we actually are thinking the same thing, and we probably are scheduled the same way. We're both very hard workers. We believe in waking up early and using every day to accomplish something. And that's where her kind of peace has really changed my life, just in especially the last 2 or 3 years, but really since we've been married now for 5 years. Just to have that to lean on is comforting to me, because if you're not alone, and you kind of have this other perspective, and it's kind of like, wow, if she's okay, she has contentment down, and she's really that example that's in the Bible that Paul talks about being being content with a little and being content with a lot. Like, it really doesn't change who you are, and that's really who Amber is. Just, I think, just really naturally, and that's the Amber that I met, and she hasn't changed. And so that's really special. I mean, of course, she's my wife, so I'm going to brag on her, but I haven't met really anyone else like that who doesn't have that. She just has the steadiness, which to make a movie, sure you need it.
Yeah.
You got to be.
You got to
If
get
you're freaking
grounded.
out,
Yeah.
if you're freaking out and you're in charge, all the people under you, and we had a big crew, and there were days we had
They feed
hundreds
off
of
of it.
extras.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're panicking, those hundreds of people, even thousands sometimes, and that crew, they're gonna all see that and be like, "Oh no, he's freaking out! Like, what's wrong?" And then that's gonna permeate. And so anyway, that's my bragging on Amber, but
that's okay. I allow that. You said that, you know, your wife, it's your wife, so you're going to brag. That's not a given, by the way. Not all men do that, but even when they have wives like Amber, they don't necessarily brag on them. But I'm glad that even when I watch your Facebook post and you write little things on pictures about you guys, you always are so like honoring to her and like, you know, complimenting her, and she's worth it, obviously. But it's so awesome that you publicly are so proud of her, because people need to see that. It's such a great example for young kids like Brady and people that have come into your life, that they need to see that marriage can be like that, you know, that where the two people are really loving and supporting each other the way that the Bible taught us to do, you know. And
it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful
it
thing.
is. And you see it, like, you, as someone, as an outsider, I can pick up on it just from a picture of you guys together, you know. Like, I can tell, like, even when you guys are working out together, which I would be so intimidated. I wouldn't even walk in the gym if I saw you guys. I'd walk right back out. But
crazy.
You guys are, but it's so cute. It's not like a bragging thing. It's like, you know, you guys are like, you know, get the day going. You're like, it's like you're trying to inspire everybody else. And it's so cute. It's probably not supposed to be cute when you're like lifting weights, but it is when you're with your wife.
We're probably smiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
you look
serious
happy.
Man face on, and then Amber's just smiling. She's, yeah, it's great. And I mean, even just to be able to work out together, you know, set for set, we kind of met competing and lifting and stuff. That's how we met. And yeah, it's a lot. I could talk. There's so many nuances and special things about it. And Amber's even she's not a social media poster person. She doesn't post selfies. She doesn't. She's not really into that world. And unfortunately, part of doing this film, you have to.
Yeah.
You know, you've really got to engage your audience, and they want to see you and talk to you. And so her and I both have had to learn that, and to try to learn to enjoy it and do it appropriately, because that goes against, you know, she's not really like that. She'll post about her mom or her brother or, you know, her family, or she'll honor someone else. She does not post about herself. And how awesome is that? How endearing is that?
And you just have to have fun with it as a couple, you know. That's the way you can, and it's good for other people to see that it's just one other aspect of it. And you know, when the film was coming around, I will tell you, I did underestimate one aspect of the film. I think is the soundtrack. Like, I mean, and you did give me some snippets early on, and I was like, man, that could be really fantastic. But then when I watched the movie and I heard it coming through my big TV speaker, like, I mean, it floored me. I was like, I mean, I was ready to work out, and I don't like to work out. Like, I was like ready to go do, do something.
It'll lift you up.
Yeah, like I felt like I was supposed to run down the street or something, you know. It's very powerful, the composing. So you gotta, I know you have a very special composing situation. So just tell us about that, because that music is phenomenal behind the scenes.
See, look, my overall answer to all of your questions is really the people I'm surrounded by.
Right.
Because, you know, I think that's really producing, is assembling this team of talented people. And that even extends to my editor, but to my composer, his name is Stephen Kukla, and I've known him for a long time. And he actually, he's an extremely intelligent person, far beyond, especially musically, anything I could even begin to explain to you. I mean, this guy can play every instrument. He understands it. It's intimidating. It actually makes you feel stupid to talk music with him. And mean that in a fun way, not in like a he doesn't mean to be like that. You just are like he's so
You're
far
just
ahead
in
of you.
awe, yeah.
Yeah, he's so far ahead of what you even thought that you're like, oh. But he was a good friend of mine for a long time, and when we got to kind of talking about what we're doing, I think I was acting in a show or something like that at the time, and he was actually composing some little snippets for Shark Week on Discovery Channel.
Love Shark Week.
That was really interesting, and I was like, really? I was like, cool. I was like, that's your job, and we kind of talked about that, and then he confessed to me, and I probably to him, that I really wanted to be producing, directing films, and he really wanted to be composing films at a high level. And so we kind of geeked out over music, and I will say my whole life I always bought soundtracks, and I drove around to soundtracks, and I listened to all the greats, James Horner and John Williams, and all those people that you could go on and on and on. And but I really wanted to kind of find someone who understood that same thing, because I've worked with some composers in the past, and I wanted this to be, it had to be new and fresh. At the same time, it had to be a throwback to those big kind of Spielberg films, where there's that big score. And we just talked about it for, years. And it's like ridiculous, but we literally talked about it for years. We tried different things, and that was before I was really shooting the film. And then once I had the film laid out, I sent him pieces of music specifically that I knew, and I said, we need to hit somewhere in this area. And he would take that, and we would try different things, and he would bring it back, and sometimes it'd be exactly perfect, other times we need a little tweak it, but just the fact that he was doing something original, the way I would say it, and I've explained to other people, is I wanted it to sound like something like when you hear it, you're like, oh, I know that, but you've never heard it before.
Right.
If that makes sense. So
it does. It sounds like several other movies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a familiarness to it where, I still love the movies where you leave the theater, like Rocky's a great example, of course, and Superman and movies like that, where you can't get the song out of your head. Star Wars, of course, E.T., all those big scores. And that's what I think I want. For the rest of my life, whatever I direct next, that's always going to be important to me, is this score needs to stand out. Because really, music kind of gets into your heart, into your soul, and, 2 weeks after you see the movie, you'll kind of hum it, and you're like, oh yeah, I love that. And I think that's super important for a film to affect you, is the music. And Steve agrees with that. And so, and what he was able to do is just every single piece of the score in the movie outdoes the one you heard before. So like when you hear the one in the opening,
that's amazing though. The opening is awesome.
Yeah, the opening is big, and it has to be.
Yeah.
Because it needs to strike you. But then from there, the journey through the movie is really incredible to watch somebody compose music to picture.
Yeah.
What an incredible, artistic, unique thing. And I got to watch him do it. And I cannot do it. I cannot do it. I cannot explain to him the notes to play. I don't know. And so I was just saying, what do you hear when you see this? And I said, this is kind of what I hear, but whatever I would tell him, it would be something else. It'd be something already created. So he was creating it. He made it. And so that is just, it's just crazy to me, the composition.
And your emotions, when you're watching a movie like we've talked about Chariots of Fire being kind of like this kind of movie, or, the Rocky kind of feel, like those movies that, in most movies in general, even if it's a romantic comedy, like you'll be sitting there going, why am I like happy? Like that's not necessary. Like, like there was just a sad part, but now I'm happy. And, like you can't even explain it. And then like you walk out of some movies like this where it's very inspirational. And I can imagine like when I'm like a big Marvel geek. I go to Comic-Con with my kids. Like, so when we go to Marvel movies, like I drive faster on the way home. Like,
of course, like, you're affected.
you feel
you
like
know,
you can just take off, and I
you're
think,
feeling it. Yeah, you're
yeah.
feeling it. You gotta be able to feel it.
And this is an
If this,
inspiration movie, so you gotta convey what Brady's going through, especially. It's got to match the emotion he's going through. I think he did that very well. He took the emotion that you felt like Brady would have been feeling as a character, but yet, the music behind it swelled to the proper occasion, when he
oh
went through
yeah,
those things.
yeah. I mean, I cannot watch Rocky, and I'm talking about the first Rocky from 1976 that Stallone wrote. Bill Conti did the score. I cannot watch the first Rocky film all the way through. I mean, at the end, the last sequence, which I think people maybe lose how powerful it is because of the pulp culture of saying "Yo, Adrian" and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. That becomes the funny thing. That also kind of happened to Forrest Gump too. The run, Forrest, that kind of thing. But if you actually really let those moments hit you, and you can get past the knuckleheads who are actually probably laughing because they're feeling emotion and they don't know what to do with it. I cry. The ending of Rocky, and it's the music. If you mute it or you take that music out, that feeling is gone. But what Bill Conti did with that score is there's just this elevation that happens of what's going on, and that's so important. And there's tons of movies like that. So but Rocky's just one that has always stood out to me since I was very young. And so when working with Steve, it was that same thing. I said, look, this last sequence, in the movie, there's this just enormous last sequence, which it's a miracle we even were able to do what we were able to do. And I was like, this has to be that same ride. It's literally like a 9-minute song. And it's a 9-minute track. That's a long piece of music to compose to picture and have it go through all of these things. And you saw the movies, you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You literally go through, you literally kind of go through almost every emotion in this piece of music. It kind of brings everything together, and it'll lift you out of your seat. It'll lift you out of your seat. I mean, I watch it myself and I forget that I made it, that we made it. And when I watch it, I'll get sucked into it. And yeah.
And then early on, as we were, talking about the music, and you had sent me clips of, the early composing, like before he had put it together and everything. And then we started talking about other songs that you might want to put in the movie. And you came up with John Schlitt, and I was like, you gotta be kidding. Like,
yeah.
like he's one of my favorite people on the planet. And then what was so great is, you think John Schlitt, I mean, he's still touring everywhere, all across the world, all the time. He's literally been on stage since 1971. Lead singer of Petra, just done all these movies. I mean, done all these tours and songs, but when I told him about the project and told him what it was about, and I know he's gonna, even if he would like let you down, it would be this, oh, but thank you for the honor, and he'd just be going on and on. But it's beautiful, and I'm praying for you, but I'm gonna bow out of this or something. But he was like, oh, absolutely. He was like, he's like, this is awesome. Like this, yeah, that's great. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. And his song "Run" is in there. I was like, how perfect is that?
Oh,
But he was.
That's ridiculous. That he even has a song called "Run,"
and it was the perfect moment. That moment,
really is.
And I will not spoil it. But when you hear John Schlitt's "Run" song, and you see Brady's face, like it's like perfect. That's
really
one of the
remarkable.
great moments. That's one of the turning points of the movie, in my opinion. And it's so powerful. And then I'm like geeked out. I'm like, Richard and BJ made the movie, and I've gotten to know you over the years, and then John Schlitt have gotten to know over the years. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so exciting. Like I geeked out through the whole movie, and then I had to watch it like 3 times because I had to get the geek out of me the first time because I was like watching it going, oh my gosh, I remember him showing me pictures of that still of him being out in the field with a rocket, like I start going through all that, and then I couldn't actually just let it wash over me. So like by the third time I watched it, it finally, I was able to just watch it as an actual audience member. But I still geek. But it's such a fabulous movie, and I'm so excited about um, the fact that I know how passionate you were about writing and directing it, um, all of it, and I'm just so excited that you were able to, not only do the film, but to have it done um, the way that you, the people that you put together, like you were talking about, the team that you put together, all of it, it was so amazing to see that, and I'm just so glad that the film is coming out. And so, when and where and how can people see the rocket? I'm sure.
When and where?
Yeah,
and
big loaded question.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. Well, it was lots of meetings and lots of festivals and I made it a point to be in this kind of leg of selling the picture and getting it out there, not to be rushed and not to just jump at anything. So I ended up basically, I should say, we ended up doing a deal with Amazon towards the end because to me, it just really made the most sense financially, and also I think it will reach the largest group of audience, group of people who will see the movie. And Amazon has been awesome, and so it will be available on Amazon January 23rd, and in addition to them, through other licensing deals, it is available right now on iTunes for pre-order. So it'll be available on iTunes. It'll be fully released January 23rd as well. But right now you can go to iTunes and you can pre-order it. And, it helps us the more it's pre-ordered or the more that's rated. You can rate the trailer on there. If you have, if you did get to see the movie at a festival or something, you can write a review, and all of those things help raise the film up into the queue, of iTunes. And so that's kind of the push that's happening right now. But in addition to Amazon and iTunes, which are the main platforms, on January 23rd, it will also be available on Vudu, Google Play. It'll be available on PlayStation, on their PlayStation Store, on the Xbox, and Fandango Now, which is basically the digital version of Walmart, I believe. And it'll be available on all of those platforms. So it's really
anywhere
everywhere.
You can download it, basically.
Yeah, it's really everywhere. January 23rd. It's going to be kind of it'll be kind of in your face, probably for that first few weeks that it's out, and then that's how movies works. There's the heat up front, but I know there's a lot of people waiting for it, and Brady and myself and the other actors that are in the film, they all have their own kind of fan base, and those people are all waiting for it. So it's exciting to be able to provide it to all those people, and it's going to have a lot of different platforms, throughout this year. But January 23rd, that's the big date. It's actually Steve Kukla's birthday, the composer's birthday that day,
That's awesome.
Which is really fun for him. And one of his dreams was to, do the complete original score for a full feature film. And on his birthday, that movie that will be realized to the world. It'll be available in 60 countries. It's been upped in 60. I think actually 80 plus different languages. There'll be closed captions available, and so it's going to really be everywhere. And I just really hope people respond to it. And in my experience, word of mouth is by far the strongest thing. If someone just says, "Oh, you got to see this. It was so good." That's all it takes. And then when you go and you're looking for something, you're like, "Oh, so and so said this was good. Let's check it out." And then I think that's the most powerful tool. So talking with, someone like you and doing stuff like this is really hopefully going to help people be interested and help people check it out. I think that also I wouldn't be even doing this if I wasn't proud of it. My name's all over it. And so
Right.
I don't need you to, to go and see it. I want you to go see it because I want to share it with you. And I believe that it's good. And I believe that you'll watch it, and I believe you'd watch the movie and you'll feel something, and you're like, wow, that was worth it. And so I wouldn't be doing radio interviews. I wouldn't be going to festivals, speaking on panels or anything like that if I thought the movie wasn't good enough, because it's representing me,
And I think for some people who, I know as a parent, growing up, my kids are college age now, so my ability to control what they do and say and what they download is obviously not really there anymore. But
Oh yeah,
but as they
that's
were,
gone.
yeah, but as they were growing up, I was very careful about the things that they watch, and I will tell everybody, no matter what age your child is, it is age appropriate for everyone. Like it is.
Yeah.
At families, I think families to see it together is a great way to see it, to download it and watch it together. Because I think if whether you're a mom, a grandfather, you're a kid, little kid, big kid, doesn't matter, teenager, college age, I think there are so many different levels that people can relate to it. And it's a good clean movie that is inspirational, that people can cannot be worried about the content or anything like that. You can freely, you don't have to pre-watch it. I can tell you as a parent that I'm very strict about that. And I used to watch everything before my kids did when it came to, movies that were PG-13, that it might be questionable. But I honestly would say that, if my kid was 8 years old or 18 years old or, whatever age, I would be happy for them to see this movie, because I love the family interaction, the interaction of the characters as high school kids. I mean, everybody, no matter how old you are. I mean, I will cough and say it's been 30 years since I was in high school. And still, those are some of my best friends. Like, I'm still very close to the people I grew up with. Maybe because it was a podunk town in Texas, but possibly, but those bonds that you make. That's something weird about college and high school. Those bonds that you make, that those experiences stick with you, and sometimes they stick with you in a bad way, and something that could have been very negative. Like for you when you got injured. It God turned that into a way to open up a whole other world for you. And you know what? You may not have met Amber, or you may have met Amber, but she might have turned you down had you
Oh yeah, there
had
could be
you not have turned out to be who you
a
are
whole chain
today.
of events.
Yeah.
No, whatever happened, it was turned around for good and gave me something I needed. And just to very quickly speak to the high school thing, there's a scene that always stands out to me in the movie, and it's the lunchroom. There's a lunchroom scene,
Yep.
like this cafeteria scene, and I just think everybody in the world, everybody who's ever gone to high school, everyone who's ever gone to high school, can absolutely, when they see that scene, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I live this." Because
Yes.
he walks in to this room, and it's basically the question of, where do I sit? Like, where am I accepted? Where do I fit? And so, as simple as that is, that's really all of us in life. We're kind of looking around and saying, like, well, where do we belong here? And Brady, just as an actor, again, does such a great job of seeing those wheels turn, in his head of, I don't really belong anywhere. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he's got to make choices in this moment. And it's a small part of the movie, but man, it's one of those relatable moments, of which there are many. But I didn't even really realize that until after it was edited and completed. And when I really saw that scene, I was like, wow, that's actually really interesting, because it really makes you throw back to that same feeling. And it's just a moment, it's just a moment in the movie. But there's lots of little moments like that just they really keep you engaged. And
I think in life we're always doing that. Like secretly in life, we'd like to sit at the cool kids table, and we don't want to sit in no man's land. But
right.
we kind of feel like we belong somewhere in the middle, but in the middle there's several different categories too. There's
Sure.
you're kind of always, and in that sense, when you make a decision that's maybe unpopular to your peers, it changes the dynamics where you might have been welcome to sit anywhere you want. You make a decision that changes the way people look at you because that was not the popular decision, and then you're like, now what? I mean, life throws you curveballs like that when you make a decision where you have to stand on, what you believe is the right choice, and when you lose friends sometimes that way, or you distance relationships, like, whether it be your parents or peers or whoever, you can distance relationships. And I think so many, you know, I think you and I could do an entire panel with people from an audience and do Q&As and like have people talk about all the things, and they probably all saw different dynamics and beyond. And I think that's what's fantastic about it. I think you've already accomplished so many amazing things, and I'm so proud of you for this film. I'm proud of Amber and BJ and his wife and everybody that was involved. I think it is a fantastic film, and I hope everybody downloads this movie and spreads the words. Like the page, share everything, because that's a big way to spread it with social media. And I'm just excited for everybody to see it, and excited for everybody to leave comments on the page after they see the movie. And all you young girls that are boy band fans, and it gives you an excuse for a movie link to sit there and watch Brady act. So and you'll actually enjoy it. It's not just sitting there watching Brady. But I think that will definitely be a lot of downloads. Will be a lot of young girls that were fans of the boy band. But what's funny is he really is he's that good. I mean, it's not just and the fact that he's 16 blows my mind. Like, like you're saying, he's like an old soul. Well, thank you so much for doing the interview, and we will not only air this, but we'll share it and let you share it with everyone. And I hope people listen to it so they can hear more in depth about what's behind the movie. I think it's exciting for people to hear more about not only the story of how you put it together, but kind of behind the scenes of how movies come together and everything. So, and let's give out the website. It's just therocketmovie.com. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's it. It's very easy.
I should have all those. Yeah.
Therocketmovie.com. On Facebook, you probably could just look up The Rocket. It's probably going to be the first page that comes up. And I know there's a bunch of IMDb interviews that are being done and being shared and posted, kind of as the weeks go on here, coming closer to the release. And so that's exciting. You can kind of get to see a lot of bits and pieces of the film are included in those interviews, and you get to see the different actors talk about their character, and I enjoy that a lot. So I'm really happy that that's being done, and Brady has a great interview. And,
yeah, I love that.
There's a few other ones. The Carl Siskey plays the father in the movie, and his interview was like it has something like 80,000 views on Facebook, and it was like posted yesterday or something.
Oh, wow.
And that's
awesome.
I know for him, he's a theater guy, and so to get that kind of attention for him is probably really special. And I think it's just there's a likability factor about everybody. So when you hear them talking and see them, and then see their work, I think you can't help but become compelled. So thank you so much for talking with me, and I hope people check it out, and I really hope that it touches them, impacts them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time, and we'll see you on the flip side, literally, of all this going on. And maybe down the road we can do another interview when your next project comes around, and we can talk about everything, all these amazing things that happened when the rocket came out.
Yes, look forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.